I want to talk about your attachment and my attachment to the starving, suffering, hustling business owner story. And this is actually my fourth rendition of the starving business owner story. When I first started, it was the starving yoga teacher story. And then it was the starving healer or body worker story. And then it was the starving, I just launched my first e-com and retreats business story. And there's lots of layers to this, so I'm going to try and keep this succinct and to the point because I could just pop off about this stuff forever. But everyone loves a starving business owner, right? Everyone loves a starving yoga teacher. Oh, well, she just gives so much and she just, always is looking out for other people and gosh, she works so hard. I'd love to support her cause. But you notice as you start to succeed and as you start to grow, people's tone changes. You'll start to hear, oh, easy for you to say, you're self-employed. Easy for you to say, you have your own business. Well, yeah, but that's for you and that's not for me. When you're not suffering or when you're not outwardly suffering and not outwardly justifying how much money you're making or why you're not suffering, people's attitudes shift and it starts to trigger this feeling in me or in my recovering people-pleasing hyper-vigilant way where it's you can feel that people might be judging you or might even start to reject you because our society is so built on valuing over-giving, under-receiving, and hyper-productivity. So it's there's something wrong with someone who's not suffering. There's something wrong with someone or even something kind of evil or bad about someone who's making money. And I say this as someone who was as freaking Santa Cruz, barefoot, bong ripping, eat the rich as you could get. I would legit go to protests and I would have no idea what I was protesting. I'd be on the bus going back up to my dorm room or whatever. And then someone would be like, there's a protest. And I would just get off the bus and go down the hill and start protesting. Had no fucking idea what it was for. So, and I thought money was bad. I thought rich people were bad. I thought, if you weren't suffering and you had money, you were a bad person. You were inherently bad. And you were inherently these people that I really disagree with or that take social issues that I'm really passionate about and just kind of take a shit on them. Which that is not true. That is just simply not true. That's more for us to unpack on the money story and the money baggage another day. But the thing is that if your subconscious thinks something's bad, it will never let you do the thing. So I have constantly, in my journey and also just constantly, having to notice where my subconscious is actually hanging on to a story about suffering and about not having money in order to keep me safe. Because if it thinks it's bad, why would it let me do that? And so it's really easy to point at all these reasons as to why you don't have enough or why you're always suffering or why you're always hustling. And you're oh, I don't have enough clients or the market or oh, there's too many coaches. There's too many yoga teachers. I just do it for the name of the art or for the name of healing. And we point at all these things outside of ourselves. But actually, I've learned that there are ways that we are actually hanging on to that story ourselves because we're scared. And it's actually us that's in our own way between where we are now and where we want to be. And calibrating to higher levels of income and higher levels of ease. Because to me, I have hustled, I have done the piecemeal, one-off, selling one-offs, piecemeal, super hustle, strategy and made six figures before. But it fucking sucks. It was just me hustling to prove how much money I was making. And then even at the end, it's all the money would leave because I was afraid to even have money because at the root of it, I was afraid of becoming someone who was bad. Or I was afraid that people's tone would shift when they thought of me or when they talked to me. And I was afraid of losing family or like friends or people that I knew. And this is a very real fear. And I actually have lost people along the way. So, all I want to leave you with, because this is something like I've uncovered a new layer on me, or in me, recently in this past like retrograde, all the retrogrades, is that there are places where we are actually cock blocking ourselves. And it is in working with the places that don't feel safe. They don't feel like it's safe to have money. They don't feel like it's safe to relax. They don't feel like it's okay to untangle who you are from suffering and untangle who you are from like, well, I just started a business or I'm trying to make it. Like getting attached to this like, oh, but I haven't really done it yet. And where was I going with that last thought? That there are places where we have actually ingrained who we think we are and how we think of ourselves as associated with someone who suffers or someone who doesn't have money. So taking some time to maybe pull your face away from the page a little bit, and what would it feel like or what would it look like to give yourself permission to actually make money and to actually be able to hang on to it? Like, what would it feel like for that to be safe? And what would that feel like to like not have to suffer for it? That making more money didn't have to mean working harder or working more or suffering more. And this is the reason too why people pleasing and kind of our behavioral patterns of how we were taught to be a good girl, and to always think about other people and like all these things that good little empaths do, that actually work as a really good way to keep us from stepping into our power. So that's all for now. I'd love to know your thoughts. Thanks for listening.